Hello and welcome to the history of Atlantis. Atlantis, also called the Lost City of the Ancients and the City of the Ancestors. Atlantis is a city ship built by the ancients several million years ago. It has approximately the same internal space as found in Manhattan. The ancients left the Milky Way galaxy several million years ago for the Pegasus galaxy, taking Atlantis with them and settling on a planet they named Lantea, which became their new capital. Millions of years later, after the Lanteans, the name the ancients came to be known by in the Pegasus galaxy, submerged the city to protect it from the Wraith, and returned to Earth through the Stargate. Over the ages, their story inspired the teal'c myth of Atlantis. Atlantis was built 30 million years ago on Earth, on the island known as Santorini. The city was later moved to the continent of Antarctica, which at the time was situated much closer to the planet's equator. When a plague similar to the one created by the Ori spread through the Milky Way galaxy, Atlantis was launched from its home, bound for the Pegasus galaxy. A small outpost inhabited by a small number of ancients was left behind on Earth, likely because they were infected and those who were departing the Milky Way didn't want to bring the plague to the Pegasus galaxy. Another ancient called Amera remained on Santorini in a stasis pod when the rest of her people left Earth in Atlantis. Upon arriving in the Pegasus galaxy, they decided to settle on the planet Lantea. Once there, the ancients created a new Stargate network and seeded the galaxy with life, just like they had once done in the Milky Way. Soon, life began to flourish where once there was none. Sometime later, during the war with the Wraith, several hive ships destroyed all ancient colonies until Atlantis was the only one left. Hive ships went to Atlantis and started the first siege of Atlantis. The ancients managed to defeat each wave of hive ships, but they were impossibly outnumbered. The ancient council decided to submerge the city underwater to protect it from the Wraith attacks and intrusions. The city was submerged and held in place by a series of clamps on the sea floor, while the city's impenetrable shield maintained the atmosphere and kept the Lantean Ocean at bay. Towards the end of the war with the Wraith, the ancient Janus rescued Dr. Elizabeth Weir from a puddle jumper that had been shot down, a jumper that was also a time machine, and also known as a time jumper. Designed and built by Janus himself, it had accidentally transported Weir, Major John Shepard, and Dr. Radek Zelenka back in time when they had been forced to evacuate Atlantis, only hours after arriving. In that timeline, the city's power failed shortly after the Atlantis expedition had arrived. The shields failed, and nearly everyone perished when the ocean flooded the city. Rodney McKay survived long enough to buy Weir, Shepard, and Zelenka time to escape, but eventually died in the flood waters himself. The time jumper transported the trio back in time, but a Wraith attack shot the jumper down, killing Shepard and Zelenka. Janus found Weir amid the wreckage and brought her back to Atlantis. During this time, it was decided by the Council to abandon the city and return to Earth via the Stargate. Unknown to the Council, however, Dr. Weir secretly stayed behind in stasis as part of a plan devised by Janus. She rotated the city's zero-point modules every 3.3 thousand years, so that when her expedition team, or rather the second expedition team from the current timeline, rediscovered Atlantis in 10,000 years' time, the shield would hopefully have enough power to continue to hold back the oceans so that they wouldn't drown like they had in her timeline. Janus also programmed a fail-safe mechanism into the city so that if power reached a critical level, the clamps holding the city to the ocean floor would release, and Atlantis would rise to the surface once more. Furthermore, the Stargate was programmed to accept incoming wormholes from only Earth, so that the city and Dr. Weir would remain safe until its rediscovery by the Atlantis expedition. When the Atlantis expedition arrived in July 2004, they started to explore the city until Dr. Rodney McKay discovered that the city's zero-point modules were nearly depleted, and that the Atlantis shield would fail, causing a massive flood. After searching Athos for a safe refuge due to the inevitable shield failure, the search team eventually brought the Athosians back after a Wraith culling occurred. When the team and the refugees returned, Janus's fail-safe mechanism activated, and Atlantis rose to the surface just as the shield finally ran out of power and failed. With Atlantis safe from the risk of flooding, the expedition continued to settle down and set up home for both themselves and the Athosian refugees. Thank you for watching the history of the ancient city of Atlantis, Part 1. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you can. If you already have, thank you, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.